Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the uh, Superstars of Wrestling Review Series. This episode is the March 7th, 1992 edition. We've got a few left in 1992, and then we're going to go backwards into, hopefully, earlier than that, 89, 90, or the missing parts of 90 perhaps. 88, 87, something like that. Anyway, gonna see what we can find. But I've got about 5 more from 92 that are here. We are weeks away from the WrestleMania 8 shift and all the good things that come with that. Money Incorporated, which is a newly formed team, starts out with an enhancement match here. And for the most part, they are pretty well dominant. IRS and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Irish Whips, and really basic stuff. IRS comes in after DiBiase is dominant for the first few minutes and gets a big Samoan drop called the write-off that he's done before. I actually thought that he switched away from that. The Undertaker and Jake Roberts saga from the previous week was revisited. If you haven't heard that episode already, go out of your way to check that out. The Undertaker basically says he will finish Jake Roberts at WrestleMania 8, and he does in a post-match promo. British Bulldog, really basic match, snatches his opponent, hits a vertical suplex after some arm drags. Then, after the hanging vertical, hits the power slam, 1, 2, 3. Bulldog has not found himself yet, but does by the summer of this year. Shawn Michaels is in ring with Sherry Martel, a.k.a. Sensational Sherry. Sherry is pretty dominant in her, pushing for Shawn Michaels to be at his best. Sherry actually creeps up on an unsuspecting enhancement talent and leads him to be distracted long enough for Shawn Michaels to get a flying clothesline off the apron. Michaels already here in 92 showing huge athleticism and the thing that would make him one of the greatest ever. Probably don't fully see it for another maybe 3-4 years, but it is here in spades. Super kick, and then Michaels hits the back suplex. They start doing the Shawn Michaels has left the building routine right around this time, and they make it a pretty big deal. We go to the event center, and Bret Hart talks about wanting to face the Mountie, get the revenge on the Mountie for shocking him beforehand, stealing the Intercontinental Championship, and of course there is the reality of Piper and Hart, one of actually my second favorite Roddy Piper match of all time, only behind him beating the Mountie for the Intercontinental Championship. I know there are people that really like other matches, but there are many promos I like from Roddy Piper, but I prefer his promo work over his matches. Tatanka is here, still fresh and new, and still finding his feet, so to speak. We see him hit a sidewalk slam. We see him hit a backbreaker, and ultimately he ends up hitting a full, I guess you'd say, Samoan drop after walking around with the guy. So they eventually do get rid of that finish for IRS because they're too similar. Ric Flair is interviewed by Gene Okerlund. Flair basically says that, in fact, they have proof that he had a personal romantic relationship with Elizabeth prior to Randy Savage, and they kind of hint at that. They show photographs from an upcoming magazine. Vince McMahon post that is mortified. When we go back to ringside, and one would be, of course, that is all proven to be false, but meanwhile, what is not false is that the Big Boss Man brawls around with the Brooklyn Brawler, no pun intended, punches, kicks, and a spine buster. Gets a win with the spine buster. Actually, only about a 2-minute match. Tito Santana starts plugging his WrestleMania match with Shawn Michaels, kind of talking in the event center about being able to defeat Michaels. The Nasty Boys still kind of going at it with the Bushwhackers and making that a pretty big eventual deal. The Bushwhackers pretty ready to talk about this. They're plugging the March 28th edition at the Boston Garden. Bushwhackers talk about getting nasty and getting nasty with the Nasties. Then we move on to a WrestleMania report. Hogan says he doesn't really know what to make of what's coming with Sid Justice, but it's going to be one of the hardest matches of his life. He talks about the possibility of walking away, but also going out on a high note with Hulkamania. Basically, Roddy Piper and Bret Hart do WrestleMania promos where they talk about not really wanting to go to battle with each other, but there's a little bit of a heelish edge to both. More so Piper, when he says he doesn't want to do this, but he's not willing to give the belt up, and if he has to, he will knock Bret Hart off and knock him out. Psycho Sid Justice is here, and he starts to commiserate about having a manager, that of course being Harvey Whippleman eventually. Whippleman comes out, says he doesn't really need any major challenge, powerbomb by Sid on an enhancement talent, and sends him home. There is a hype for a cage match at the upcoming Boston area show with Jake Roberts and Macho Man Randy Savage. Snake wonders whether Savage will make his way out of the cage. Other matches they're plugging for the 28th of March: Bushwhackers and the Nasty Boys, Bret Hart and the Mountie. And again, that steel cage match, Jake Roberts and the Macho Man. And we will close with that. We'll be back with more right after this.